the contradiction, the next one I would like to bring to the table is progressives versus conservatives.
Oh gosh, what are we doing, Eddie?
Today we are going to be political.
No. We're not being political. What?
Nah. Okay, so here's why we need each side. We have this insatiable desire for trying to figure out the truths of what is good in new things, right? So as new things come down the pike, as new ideas come down the pike, as we try to embrace new technologies, methods, practices, lessons learned from awesome projects that were successes, we also do not want to forget where we've come from and those things that have always worked well.
Oh, so this isn't political at all.
This isn't political. So how do we balance our progressive mindset? So you have a mindset of, I need to do new cool things in new cool ways, and I'm going to embrace new things at peril of whatever may come. And we're going to say, moving forward, we're doing the thing because it's the new thing, and we're going to try it. Putting that out there, like, that's good. We need some people that are on the quotes bleeding edge. Why do we call it the bleeding edge? Well, because when you get out there on the leading edge, sometimes it becomes the bleeding edge. Sometimes that doesn't work out quite to plan because we haven't been there before.
Singing is like cutting edge, like the movie,
Dude,
that our grandma used to watch all the time.
You get out there. I don't remember that one. You get out there on the front end, and sometimes you just learn. And so that's what you take away from the presentations on these projects that say, oh, we used modular bathroom pods, and
it was all great.
Here's the good stuff. Here's the bad stuff. And then you don't really hear all of the time in those presentations the stuff that they murmur behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I had another example with talking to a project manager. He's talking about how a plumber makes everything modular for a project and gets everything set up and got his grids and bays wrong and set up the whole modular project for the wrong grids and bays.
Jeez.
And comes out and installs it wrong. As a result, what gets blamed? The modular. Shouldn't have done it modular. Well, it wasn't modular's fault. Modular didn't make that bad. That was an epic mistake in the planning of it, but there's some bleeding edge stuff that maybe there were some checks and counterbalances that didn't happen. On the progressive versus conservative, I think that we need to have both. And this is going to actually bleed into the next contradiction too. But for this one, this is about our tech and tactics, our movement forward, our need for embracing new things and being willing to maybe struggle and stink at something and fail forward and find that new way because we have to innovate. We need innovation budgets. We need to carry money that we actually have allotted for trying new things.
And failing at them.
And taking what comes. Like there needs to be calculation of risk there. And we need to manage risk, of course, but we need to take some risks in order to get better. That's how getting better works. There is a progressivism that we absolutely have to have. But we do not need to forget that there are some solid construction practices that we need to hold on to. There are some things that we have learned over the years that are good. And there are some things that we probably even need to go back to. Yeah. And so the contradiction is like, there's a contradiction of, oh, we look back at the old ways we built. Like we had our lessons learned with Pop, right? We interviewed Pop. We're like, oh man, this is how they did it. The days gone by. And then, then we talk about all of the new ways we build
and how great it is and how perfect it is.
So the contradiction is kind of like, well, which way? Which way is good? It's like, well, we're trying to see the good in both.
And that's where it gets really, really difficult because like a lot of this tech, this stuff that's on the, bleeding edge, like you're talking about, it hasn't been vetted long enough for us to really know like how this is all going to end up. Right. I love going back and trying to unearth old gems that have been lost. I think that's kind of the intent behind those episodes, is like, when we talk to Pop, what was your process for, an RFI? And when he says, I couldn't even spell RFI, you go, whoa, okay, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean you couldn't even spell RFI? Which, I mean, obviously you could, but like the push behind that is that, we didn't have RFI. We just talked to each other and we figured out problems, and there was trust between parties.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like we have 200 RFI generated on a project, like immediately.
Yep.
Like before we're even out of design, like we have 200 RFIs. And what we're pushing at is there's something that we could learn from, 1950s, 1930s, whatever, back in time. There's something we could pull and learn from history that we can implement now. Given the technical practices or technology that we have today, those things could potentially be enhanced. Like a lot. We just can't forget where we came from. And we can't also lose sight of where we're going. Like, let's try to blend those two together. I keep coming back to gradients because I think there's room for both at the table, and there needs to be both at the table, and they need to balance each other out, and we need to put them on the table and let them fight and see what works and see what doesn't.
You have a healthy respect for tradition while maintaining a passion for the truth.
Yeah.
Ever searching for the truth of what is right, what is best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But an absolute respect for tradition where we've been.
Yeah. Micro has a great story on that about castrating goats. Go look that up. That's yeah. Or sheep or something like that.
Well, that took a turn.
All right. I'm just saying, it's like the traditional versus the new methods, and I'd look up the sheep castrating story that Micro tells. It's really interesting.
I'm gonna have to do that now.
You're welcome.
Right, thanks.
We'll put that in the show notes. That's a good one.
All right.